Hello, today what I'd like to do is expose some of the bullcrap, the horse crappery that goes on with Kickstarters. Now, I'm not talking about Kickstarter as a platform. It's a wonderful platform, great for crowdfunding. I use it myself for many Kickstarters, others do it. But what I'm talking about today specifically is some of the horse crappery that people who use Kickstarter do during their Kickstarters. Specifically, we're going to talk about funding goals, stretch goals, and promised delivery dates. Now, before we jump in, I do want to let you know that my own Kickstarter, Feybound Trickery of the Wilds, is live right now. So if you want to get yourself a D&D 5th edition expansion full of Fey-themed content, go over there right now and check it out. We have 6 new Fey races, 10 new Fey subclasses, over 100 new creatures, Fey mechanics, Fey magic items, a full Fey campaign setting with 4 unique Fey courts, and a 12-part adventure arc. The Shrot right here is one of my favorite races, as is the Chitinborn, super cool, and of course you gotta go with the Foxkin, very awesome. And I would say of the new subclasses, the Pact of the Witch Warlock is amazing. We actually will have in D&D 5e a real witch. You can play a witch. And then I think the Dustplague Rogue right here is also super cool. One of the iconic things with Fey are Fey contracts. So we're giving you a Fey contract system, actual mechanics that you can use in your game. And we're going to be giving you mechanics for Fey names, for true names, which are also a huge thing when we're talking about the Fey. And here's some of the artwork for the creatures we're giving you. Just amazing artwork that we have for this. We have such great artists on this project. And then I am super excited to bring you Escape from the Fey, which is the 12-part adventure arc that will be within Feybound. These adventures I wrote myself, so obviously I love them. I think they're really cool, and I'm excited to get them before you. So click that link down below and back Feybound right now, because we currently have early backers specials that are going on within the first 72 hours only of the Kickstarter. So if you want to get yourself this beautiful alt cover, now is the time to go back. Okay, let's talk about funding goals, because the fact of the matter is most of the times when you see a funding goal on Kickstarter, it's complete horse crap. Let's take a look at this Kickstarter right here. It has a funding goal of $20,000. So theoretically, what this is kind of telling you is that if they fund at least $20,000, they're going to be able to bring this book to you. That's what this is telling you on its surface level. But I'm going to show you why this is just complete horse crappery and not at all true. Let's look at this one. This one is saying $50,000 and they're going to bring this book to you. But this isn't enough for them to actually fund this book and pay all the bills. And let me show you why. All right, right here in my super high-tech software, I have broken down the actual funding costs for books like these, at least from my experience, which is not insignificant. First of all, artwork. This can easily run you $20,000 to $30,000. Writing, $7,000 to $20,000. This is based upon the average length of a book like this, which is probably about 100,000 words, and paying contractors the average contract rate. But it does assume contract work, so it could be a whole lot more if you have staff writers.
Hi, this is Editor Luke here, and I realized as I was editing the video that I underestimated the length of a book like this. It's probably more around 150,000 words in a book as opposed to 100,000, and that's going to put the total cost of writing more around $10,000 all the way up to $30,000. So it's a little bit more expensive than I originally thought.
Editing will run you $5,000 to $10,000. Layout, $5,000 to $10,000. Printing, about $10,000, and this assumes a 1,500 minimum print run at about $6 per book. Staff costs, we don't know. We don't know how many staff or employees you have, and the costs you have to pay for them to work on this project. So that means that from what we can gather at a base level, the total costs are between $47,000 and $80,000. But that's just the break-even number. It doesn't account for staff or employee costs. It doesn't account for the business owner's time investment. Like, I own my business and I spend a lot of time on my projects, so I spend a whole bunch of time. Shouldn't I get a little something? Or am I just working for free? And it also doesn't account for setting aside capital for future projects and expenses, which are absolutely going to be needed. So you say, well then Luke, why don't people put actual funding goal numbers? Like, if it's gonna cost you $150,000 to actually make this book and to like pay your expenses, why don't people put that number there? This is one of those things where you have to play the game. You have to play the game of putting a low funding goal number for 2 main reasons. First of all, backers backers want to see that your project has been funded, that it's going to be a thing. If they see that your project's not funded, it will literally, and this is what many people have told me, it will psychologically influence them. These are people in the industry who know what they're doing. It will psychologically influence them to not back your project. But once your project is fully funded, well, then they'll back it because they know they're getting the thing. And it will allow you to put little things on there like fully funded or funded in 5 minutes or 5,092% funded. You put those on your project images and advertise it as like, yay, look at this, we're killing it. So it's like, it's marketing stuff. Furthermore, the Kickstarter algorithm literally plays off from the percentage funded. So the higher percentage funded you are, the algorithm favors you. The faster you raise money, the more percentage funded you are, the algorithm is gonna give you some good juju juice. I don't even know if that's a thing, but you understand what I'm saying. So this is a game that everyone really has to play, and if you don't play this game, it can really hurt you. Okay, now let's talk about stretch goals. The fact of the matter is that stretch goals from larger established companies are a song and a dance. They literally are planning on hitting all of these stretch goals anyway. And then they manipulate these numbers like the 50,000, the 100,000, 150,000 intentionally before the campaign and during the campaign so that they will hit almost all of their stretch goals. Now, this is what I have been taught in Kickstarter seminars that I've attended. This is what other creators have told me. This is completely 100% a thing that people do. It's not Luke just making crap up. Furthermore, the publication timeline for these projects almost always demands that this content already be created before the Kickstarter launches. And we're gonna get a little bit more into the meat of that publication timelines a little bit later when I talk about fulfillment promises of when you're gonna get it and why a lot of these Kickstarters fail in that department. Now I'm gonna break down to you exactly how you plan to hit all of your stretch goals and the math and all of the analytics analysts that goes behind that. But what I want to show you right here on this Kickstarter right here, these stretch goals, you can see that Ghostfire Gaming, they usually do pretty well on their Kickstarters, million plus, right? I've seen some of theirs that are in the 2 millions and stuff, so they do really well. So you'll notice here for their stretch goals, they have 50,000, 100,000, 150,000, it's scrolling on the wrong one, 200,000, it goes all the way up. They got all this stuff, new content, new stat blocks, new faction backgrounds, you know, they have a new city guide they're adding faction feats, all of this, and it goes all the way up to 100,000 as their last one right here. And what you'll notice here, they may have had some more planned after this, or this may have been the last one. We really don't know, but this says that it's these all say that they're still locked. So they probably had a big push at the very end, but these are actually unlocked because this project did a little over $1 million. So they just hit all of their stretch goals right here, all of these things. So now what I want to show you is how you go about setting your project up so that you can plan to hit all of your stretch goals. All right, so first of all, based on your experience on Kickstarter, you know roughly what your Kickstarter is usually going to make. In the case of Ghostfire Games, they know they're probably going to get between 500,000 to $1 million at least on their Kickstarters, right? I know that mine usually makes somewhere between 200 and 300,000, right? And so this determines your first stretch goal amount. So you might set your first stretch goal amount at $50,000 because you know you're going to hit that in the first day easy. So right here, you also know, right now we know for a fact that most Kickstarters by the end of day 2 will make about half of its total funding. All right, that's a known fact right now. That's the way Kickstarter landscape actually is. Okay, so here's the example. You know that your Kickstarters usually make between 200,000 and 300,000. And that means you're going to set your first stretch goal is going to be $50,000. Now, here's the thing. You don't literally lay out the numbers for your stretch goals on your page before you launch. You obfuscate these. You have like the first one, you'll tell what it is, but all of these ones right here, you don't tell people what these numbers are. These numbers get filled in. Once you hit this first stretch goal, then you tell people what the number is for your second stretch goal. So by the end of day 2, let's say, so during day 1, you know, you hit your 50,000, your velocity is really good, then you unveil your next one for 75,000. Velocity is looking great, you know, you unveil your next one for 100,000. You're like, oh man, things are going great. All right. End of day 2 comes, you've made about $100,000. You know that your total funding for this Kickstarter by the end of day 30 is probably going to be about $200,000. At that point, what you do is you lay out the roadmap for the rest of your stretch goal numbers, what they're probably going to be. Now, you're going to adjust this a little bit based upon project velocity and stuff. But the thing is that by the time you get to the day 3 through 5, you're getting into the messy middle of a Kickstarter where there's not a whole lot of growth. It's just slowly inching along. So that's when you probably want, instead of having 25,000 for each stretch goal, you're going to get more conservative and just have 10,000 for each stretch goal. That way, throughout the project, you're hitting some stretch goals every few days or so. You can send out an update saying, hey, we hit our stretch goal. Awesome. Let's keep going. Our next stretch goal is this. It's a way to create a little bit of hype. You could say that it's artificially generated or artificially planned, and that's fair, but it is a way for you to make updates, generate hype, get people to come back, get people to tell their friends, get people to pledge more to try to hit the stretch goals and stuff. And then as you're rolling into around the end of the project, you should be around your estimated total funding of 200,000 and your stretch goals are here. But this is the basic way that you plan your stretch goals and you go about hitting all of your stretch goals. Unless you think that I'm just talking about other people, like this is literally what I have done in past projects as well. This right here is our Layers and Legends 2 project, and you can see here all the stretch goals unlocked, but we didn't quite hit the last stretch goal. And over here is our Secret Art of Game Mastery. We unlocked this one, and then, we didn't get our very last stretch goal. It was a little bit too far out of reach and we didn't hit it. And this is one of those Kickstarter games that I am now refusing to play. That's why for Feybound, our Kickstarter that launched today, we have no stretch goals. We have pre-stretched the book. We've just accepted that this is a song and a dance, and we're not going to play it. We're just going to tell you everything that's in the book. We're literally going to have a list of all the stuff, all the cool stuff we want in the book, and we're putting it in the book. There are no stretch goals. We're calling it pre-stretched. But all of this cool stuff that would have normally been a stretch goal so that we could try to market hype you into pledging more or telling your friends and yay, let's get it, let's unlock this. No, we're just giving you this stuff. You don't have to worry about missing the cool thing that you really wanted in the book or trying to pressure, 500 of your friends to pledge $25,000 to get the thing that you wanted. We're just giving you everything. So I may have to play the funding goal game, but I'm not playing the stretch goal game for this project. Okay, now let's talk about the delivery timeline. This is when a project tells you that you're going to get your books. According to online data, 75% to 84% of Kickstarters deliver late. That's a lot of lateness. And in my opinion, there are 3 main reasons that Kickstarters usually deliver late. Number 1, they intentionally overestimate when they're going to be able to get to your book because they know that backers want it sooner. And if they tell you it's going to be 2 years, a lot of backers are going to be like, nah, I'm just going to wait until it's actually out there on the store and then I'm going to go buy it. But they know that once a backer backs it and pays for it on Kickstarter, they've already paid the money. And so if it delivers late at that point, well, it's too bad. What are they going to do about it? So essentially, if the companies that do this, they are intentionally lying. They're literally lying, and they know they're lying. They know that they're never going to get the books by the time they say they're going to get the books. The second reason is simply poor project management skills and or lack of planning. They've not done projects like this before, or they just don't know what they're doing, or they don't care, or it's just chaos, right? It's we're just cool nerd people that make books and stuff, and we're not really good at project management and all of these soft skills or hard skills that it takes to run a business. So we're not really good at all that. We're not good at capitalism and all this kind of stuff. We're just making cool products. And so they essentially don't know what they're doing, or they don't have the skills and the wherewithal to make it happen in the timeline that they promise people. Number 3, legitimate delays do happen. However, I want to say that, crap happens. It does. COVID happened, shipping delays happen, your warehouse with all your books in it burns down, stuff, or Diamond decides to steal your product and sell it for their own, so stuff does happen. legitimate stuff does happen, but I really feel like this is the exception. I feel like number 1 and 2 here are the actual things that happen most of the time. But the thing is that what we hear from projects that have delays isn't that, hey, you know, we're just bad at planning, sorry, or they're not going to say, yeah, we lied to you. We knew we were never going to get it to you on time. What they tell you is they give a spin. They'll give you a story. They'll have an excuse. They'll say something, this, that, or the other is what's causing the delay. How many of you have backed a project recently where it was promised on a given date and then you got an update saying, I'm sorry guys, it's going to be a little bit later because of this. And the next update says, yeah, it's going to be a little bit later because of this. And then there's a third update. Yeah, it's going to be even later because of this. How many updates do you need to get where they keep on saying there's a new reason for being late, a new reason for being late, before you finally just say, you guys either knew it would never get here this fast or you're incompetent. You know what I mean? You've all been on projects like this, haven't you? Now, what I will say is about the Kickstarters that I've ran, all of them have delivered on time or a little bit early. And this isn't to like toot my horn or anything. It's just to say this is the reputation that I have, because what I want to share with you now is the planning that I do before all my Kickstarters to ensure that this happens, that you get your books on time. Okay, so this is for Feybound. This is for our current Kickstarter. And this is our timeline and how we plan to get it to you by October of 2026. First of all, you can see these are all the activities that need to get done. These are the big things that need to get done. There's a lot of little stuff, but this is the big stuff. Write new content. That should be done by the end of October. And I must say that 90% of it, or probably more, is already written before the Kickstarter even launched. Copy editing is going to take about a month. And this is only all of the previous stuff that was written has already been copy edited, already been done. So that's just to copy edit the new stuff, the new content that we have written. We got to update the chapters based on the copy editing. Artwork should be done by the end of December this year. Now, this artwork was all started about 6 months ago. Like, we've been working on, actually more than that, we've been working on artwork hardcore for Feybound since January of 2026. And we turned it up after that. And there was some artwork that we got commissioned last year because we needed it for planning the project out and getting certain things done. So we started working on artwork way in advance, but it's still going to take us until December to get the rest of it done. Interior layout and design should be done at about the end of February. Then we have to review all of the PDFs that we're going to send to our printer. And then once the printer gets the PDFs, they have to review it. They usually are pretty quick about that. Maybe a week or two, we should be set on that. But we're looking at the middle of April for that. And the book proofs, then the printer has to do a whole bunch of stuff. They send us little proof blank books, and this is the thickness, this is what the pages look like and stuff. It's not actually, it doesn't have any content in it. It's just kind of to show us what the books are going to look like, right? And they'll send us like, then they'll start sending us pages that actually have been printed on, so we can like review the color composition, whether like the trim jobs are right and all that kind of stuff. And then the books are actually going to get scheduled to get printed. That should be done about the end of June. And then you have to account for probably about 6 weeks of freighting across oceans and stuff to get to your fulfillment partners. Then that takes us to the middle of August, which means that we could probably start fulfillment at the beginning of September next year. But I know from past experience that things always happen, delays always happen. So we are advertising it as fulfilling in October, because if we do that, we're pretty safe. And yes, you could argue that we have a little bit of cushion in some of these dates. Now, some of these dates don't have much cushion. We got to hit these, because if you have any delays earlier in this process, it ripples down through the entire chain and causes everything to be late. So we do add cushion into all of these dates, a little bit of cushion here and there. So this is basically how we plan out our timeline. And this is not brain science. This is not rocket science. You literally plan out the things you got to do, how you know from experience how long it takes you to get them done, and you just do a little math. This is such simple. Okay. When you see how simple this is, right? It really astonishes you that like so many Kickstarters deliver late, right? Because not complicated. I'm working with a simple spreadsheet, guys. This is not rocket science. And again, wouldn't it just be the complete irony if my Feybound Kickstarter delivers a little bit late? Of course that would happen, because here I am saying that it's not hard, and then, oh, you failed. Oh, you gotta love that crap. But anyway, those are the 3 main things of horsecrappery that I see on Kickstarter. And from behind the scenes, I know how things are done. And so to me, it just stands out as such crazy horsecrappery. I hope you enjoyed this. this. If you have your own thoughts, if there's other things I forgot to mention, leave your comments down below. And don't forget, go back Feybound, go back our Kickstarter. You're going to get it on time. And you're going to get a whole bunch of Fey-themed material for D&D 5th edition, 2014 and 2024. And if you want to watch another fun DM Layer video, there should be something over here maybe, or over on this side. And have yourselves a wonderful day and happy game mastering.